Everything we know about Scratch has been wrong. However, our new episode 9 first look reveals 4 early previews and images that change everything we thought we knew about him, as well as some of the other characters. Which started with what was said to be an entire flashback scene of Scratch that was released early. Only this alleged early scene, which showed us Scratch yelling at Kinger in an angry way for some reason, ended up being a lot more important than we first realized. You see, at the bottom of the image here, we were additionally shown voice lines said to have gone along with the scene reading, "At least it's not my fault we're stuck here," implying that Scratch confronts Kinger for being the reason any of the characters ended up in the digital circus in the first place. But how do we know if this scene was legit or not, and what would it tell us to expect for episode 9? Well, even though the show's creator Gooseworks recently confirmed to us that no one has successfully leaked anything in the past, as she's been the only one to show us legitimate scenes before they were released publicly, we know there's been something strange going on with Glitch behind the scenes lately. You see, we've actually been getting reports of them posting official episode 9 teasers very briefly before deleting them, something that we've seen Gooseworks herself also do in the past before the release of some of the previous episodes, which is where this alleged teaser comes into play here. As it turns out, there was actually 2 specific details about it that made it potentially more important than we first realized. But before getting into these details, we ended up getting another early teaser that finally told us what to potentially expect for Caine in the finale, as after seeing him get deleted in episode 8, there was never any confirmation if we'd ever see him again or what his role in the final episode was even supposed to be. Only we were just given this new updated movie poster for episode 9 that showed one specific difference from how the poster looked originally. For some reason, the updated version had a bee on it. But what the heck would this bee have to do with Caine's role in episode 9? Well, for starters, we saw that this specific bee was strangely wearing Caine's top hat for some reason. A connection that actually goes a lot deeper, as this theme of bees being important to Caine came up again all the way back in episode 3. During Zubal's therapy scene, Caine ended up drawing a bee specifically, despite it having absolutely nothing to do with Zubal's therapy process. Only this bee drawing has actually popped up in the show on multiple occasions after this as well. We saw Caine drawing another bee in this episode 6 teaser, and again on this planned blueprint that he gave to the fake Able mannequin NPC in episode 7. This bee was clearly meant to represent Caine in a big way, but with this same bee returning in episode 9's movie poster, what were we meant to be expecting? Well, what if I told you that this bee actually was Caine, a reincarnated backup of his AI that was meant to symbolize him in the finale? But how do we know? Well, it turns out there was another specific reference to this bee involving Caine back in episode 5 that proved exactly that. This specific bee drawing that was again made by Caine, only this time Caine drew his own outfit and top hat around the bee, almost like he was foreshadowing becoming it later on. This same bee foreshadowing was even used to reference Caine's creation as well, as these 3 specific ones synced up perfectly to the red and blue dots from episode 8's opening scene that were used to represent the original Caine and Able AI before they created the digital circus. Caine's entire story was shown to go full circle with these bees, meaning following his deletion from the circus, it'd make the most sense for these same bees to represent him once again in the final episode of the show. But going back to our previously mentioned Scratch teaser, it turns out there were 2 specific details that made what we were looking at here a lot more important than we first realized. With the first being the fact that Scratch specifically was the one who was shown to be talking in this potential early voice line. You see, the idea of Scratch having voice lines at all in the finale was actually something we were told about early from this alleged cast list for the episode that was said to have been released alongside one of the episode's movie listings. Meaning having this possibility referenced again in this alleged teaser supports the idea of it actually being legit. Only our second detail showed how this specific line we hear Scratch say during this potential scene actually connected to a secret set up in the show that's been a mystery until today. The fact that back in episode 6, we heard Kinger specifically mention how there was something he thought he did in his past that made him despise himself. Something that was obviously very extreme for Kinger to have despised himself for doing it, only we never actually hear what this thing was. Which is where our new potential teaser comes into play, as hearing a voice line here that specifically mentions a secret bad thing Kinger has done, getting everyone trapped in the digital circus in the first place, would perfectly fit together with what we've been expecting. And while there's no indication whether the teaser was truly meant to be involved in the actual episode or not, there were definitely a suspicious amount of details that connected it to what we're really expecting to see. Only our next preview connected to what we're expecting to see even more, as we were given all new episode 9 images of the circus members by Glitch themselves that started with this first one that showed something somewhat unexpected. The return of Bubble, who we saw obviously got deleted in episode 8, only to never make an appearance in the Digital Circus series since. But in terms of what to actually be expecting for episode 9, it turns out this other image we were given revealed much more. This image, which showed us a new render of Ragatha and one of Jax, with Jax strangely clutching his head off in the corner here, only these renders ended up being so important that Glitch themselves ended up making an entire bonus post about them. A post made by one of Glitch's employees who was confirmed to have been the original creator for these character designs, that fully showed us the behind the scenes process of making the designs that we were never given a complete look at before, which went along with the secret detail about them. What was said by the Glitch employee to have been the reason that Jax was strangely shown to be clutching his eye in this episode 9 image. They end up linking this image as a response, telling us that Jax is essentially covering his eye here because he has pink eye. Only the render additionally went along with one specific detail that made it stick out as important, something that connected to what we were meant to expect in the Digital Circus finale. These eyes poking out of a crack in the wall here. But what the heck were these eyes meant to potentially tell us about episode 9? Well, it turns out this actually isn't the first time that we've seen these eyes before, as the same exact looking ones were also shown earlier on in the official episode 9 movie poster off in the side here. The fact that these eyes returned in these new renders tells us that they were definitely meant to be important towards the Digital Circus finale in some way. So what were they actually meant to reveal to us? Well, it turns out I'm able to put together the full story for you in this video right here. So for what we know about the final episode of the show before it finally gets here, make sure to check it out.